Imagine a world of white. The sun glints off of icy plains. Towering icebergs drift silently in the frigid water. This is the beauty of the Arctic and Antarctic, our polar regions. These areas may seem far away. However, they play a vital role in keeping our planet healthy. They are home to unique and wonderful creatures like penguins and polar bears. These animals have adapted to survive in these extreme conditions. They depend on the polar ice for their survival. But their icy world is melting away. The polar regions are a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of our planet. What happens there affects us all. Polar ice is frozen water. But it's not just about frozen lakes and rivers. It includes massive ice sheets, glaciers, and ice shelves. These formations are vital for regulating the Earth's temperature. The white surface of the ice reflects sunlight back into space. This helps to cool the Earth, acting like a giant mirror. Without it, the Earth would become much warmer. Polar ice also plays a crucial role in ocean currents. As ice forms, it leaves behind denser, saltier water. This denser water sinks, driving ocean currents that distribute heat around the globe. The Earth's climate is changing. The average temperature is rising due to human activities, primarily the burning of fossil fuels. These activities release greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, trapping heat and warming the planet. This warming effect is amplified in the polar regions. The loss of reflective ice exposes darker ocean water, which absorbs more heat. This creates a feedback loop, leading to even more melting. The consequences of this melting are dire. Sea levels are rising, threatening coastal communities worldwide. Weather patterns are becoming more extreme, with more frequent heat waves, droughts, and floods. We are witnessing the melting of polar ice at an alarming rate. This is a clear sign that our planet is in trouble. Penguins are iconic symbols of the Antarctic. These flightless birds depend on sea ice for breeding, feeding, and molting. As the ice melts, their world is shrinking. Penguins rely on krill, tiny crustaceans that thrive in cold, icy waters. As sea ice declines, so does the krill population. This leaves penguins with less food, impacting their ability to survive and reproduce. The loss of sea ice also disrupts penguin breeding cycles. They need stable ice platforms to raise their chicks. Melting ice can lead to early breakups, separating chicks from their parents and exposing them to predators. The plight of penguins is a stark reminder of the far-reaching consequences of climate change. Section 5. The polar bear's predicament. Polar bears are the Arctic's apex predator. These majestic creatures rely on sea ice for hunting seals, their primary food source. As the ice melts, their hunting grounds shrink, forcing them to travel further for food or scavenge on land. Polar bears are powerful swimmers, but they are not equipped for long-distance swims. With shrinking ice, they are forced to swim longer distances, leading to exhaustion, hypothermia, and even drowning. The loss of sea ice also disrupts polar bear breeding and denning habits. Females give birth to cubs in snow dens on land. With warmer temperatures, these dens are more likely to collapse, putting cubs at risk. The plight of polar bears is a stark reminder of the urgent need to address climate change. Section 6. Real-life tales of two species. In recent years, scientists have observed disturbing trends in both penguin and polar bear populations. These trends are not just numbers on a chart, they represent real animals struggling to survive in increasingly hostile environments. In some areas, penguin colonies have experienced significant declines due to food shortages and habitat loss. The ice they depend on is melting, and the fish they eat are becoming scarce. For example, a study on a colony of Adelie penguins in Antarctica found that chick mortality rates increased dramatically during years with low sea ice cover. The lack of ice affects their ability to find food and protect their young. The chicks simply couldn't survive without enough krill to eat. Krill populations are also declining, adding another layer of complexity to the penguin struggle. Similarly, polar bear populations are declining in many areas. These majestic creatures are finding it harder to hunt seals, their primary food source, as the ice melts earlier each year. In Hudson Bay, Canada, polar bears are coming ashore earlier in the year due to earlier ice melt. This forces them to spend more time on land, where food is scarce. This disrupts their feeding patterns and leads to weight loss, impacting their overall health and reproductive success. A thinner bear is less likely to survive the harsh Arctic winters. These real-life examples highlight the urgency of the situation. The changes in the polar regions are happening faster than many scientists predicted. The impacts of climate change are already being felt by these vulnerable species. Immediate action is needed to mitigate these effects and protect the delicate balance of our planet's ecosystems. Section 7. Consequences of inaction. The melting of polar ice is not just a problem for penguins and polar bears. It signifies a much larger issue that affects every living being on Earth. The polar regions act as the planet's cooling system, and their deterioration is a warning sign of the broader impacts of climate change. It has far-reaching consequences for the entire planet. The changes in these remote areas can trigger a cascade of environmental shifts that affect ecosystems and human societies worldwide. As sea levels rise, coastal communities face the risk of flooding, erosion, and even displacement. This isn't just a future threat. It's happening now, with some communities already being forced to relocate. The changes in ocean currents can disrupt weather patterns, leading to more frequent and severe storms, droughts, and heat waves. These extreme weather events are becoming the new normal, affecting millions of people. These events can have devastating impacts on agriculture, infrastructure, and human health. Crops fail, buildings collapse, and hospitals become overwhelmed with heat-related illnesses. The loss of polar ice also accelerates global warming. As the ice melts, it exposes darker ocean and land surfaces that absorb more heat, further increasing global temperatures. The reflective ice sheets help to regulate the Earth's temperature. They act like a mirror, bouncing sunlight back into space and keeping the planet cooler. As they melt, the Earth absorbs more heat, leading to a vicious cycle of warming and melting. This feedback loop makes it increasingly difficult to reverse the damage. The consequences of inaction are dire. If we do not take immediate steps to mitigate climate change, we will face more frequent and severe natural disasters, loss of biodiversity, and significant economic challenges. We must act now to address climate change and protect our planet for future generations. Every action counts, from reducing carbon emissions to supporting renewable energy and conservation efforts. Together, we can make a difference. Section 8. What we can do. The good news is that we can still make a difference. Despite the challenges we face, there are numerous actions we can take to combat climate change and protect our planet for future generations. We can all take action to reduce our carbon footprint and slow down the rate of climate change. Simple changes in our daily routines can have a significant impact. Here are a few things we can do. First, we can reduce our reliance on fossil fuels. This means cutting down on activities that burn coal, oil, and natural gas, which are major contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. We can transition to cleaner sources of energy, such as solar, wind, and geothermal. These renewable energy sources are not only better for the environment but also sustainable in the long run. We can also reduce our energy consumption by using energy-efficient appliances and transportation. Support sustainable practices by choosing products that are designed to use less energy. We can choose products from companies that prioritize sustainability. This includes buying locally produced goods, which reduces the carbon footprint associated with transportation. We can also reduce our consumption and waste by reusing and recycling. Simple actions like using reusable bags, containers, and bottles can make a big difference. We can urge our elected officials to implement policies that address climate change. Advocacy is a powerful tool, and our voices can lead to significant policy changes. We can also support organizations working to protect polar regions and their inhabitants. These groups are on the front lines, fighting to preserve these critical ecosystems. By working together, we can create a more sustainable future for all. Every effort, no matter how small, contributes to the larger goal of saving our planet. Section 9. Our shared responsibility. The fate of the polar regions and their inhabitants is in our hands. We have a shared responsibility to protect these fragile ecosystems and the creatures that depend on them. The melting of polar ice is a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of our planet. What happens in the Arctic and Antarctic affects us all. We must act now to address climate change and preserve the beauty and biodiversity of these remarkable regions. The time for action is now. Let us work together to create a healthier, more sustainable future for generations to come. Our actions today will determine the future of our planet.